Hi, this is Tracy with the Rhapsody Art Barn, and today we're going to be decoupaging with Roycycled paper and Debi's Design Diary DIY products. I like the DIY Liquid Patina for decoupaging. It is their top coat sealer in matte, but it has a nice thick consistency. So you'll see me using that to do my decoupage a lot. Especially on the Roycycled paper, which is an 18-pound test paper. I have already used the rest of this sheet on other projects. If you want to see some of my other projects, I do lives on my Facebook, Rhapsody Art Barn Facebook page, and I try to get these videos done as often as I can. So visit the Rhapsody Art Barn Facebook page to see more of my video tutorials. But I've used the other parts of this paper. This is traditionally, Roycycled papers are 30 by 20, so quite a bit bigger than this. But this design was done by an artist, and then Royce took it and put it on paper. And so it's the Roycycled decoupage paper that I carry on my website along with the other products, rhapsodyartbarn.com. Okay, so this is a 1800s old board from a dresser that I took apart, and I'm just going to do a basic decoupage, this little bunny on this board. And I'm gonna use Debi's DIY paint in vintage linen. It's a very beautiful off-white, just like it sounds, a vintage linen color. I'm using a Posh chalk paintbrush. It's actually a French tip, so I can get into my paint because I'm almost out of this color in my container. And I don't need to do too much paint on this because I'm just wanting it to be white underneath the bunny. So anytime you're decoupaging, it's always a good idea to put a light color under it unless you're using the color to create an element that you'll see through the paper. Otherwise, it's a good idea to put white underneath to make the color pop. Any color pop. Doesn't just, I mean, even black paper will look better with the white underneath. And I am going to kind of create a little distressed look at the ends because this bunny is not gonna take all of this space. And I'm even probably gonna go back after I'm done with this whole project and wipe it back. DIY paint will not dry to a firm, hard, it'll dry so it's hard, but it won't dry so that you can't wipe it back with water until you seal it with wax or their Liquid Patina or their toughest top coat, Big Top. So you can always go back in and wet distress, even after it's dry, even after it's been a long time of sitting. So that's as hard as that is. We're just putting a quick coat on that, and I keep my brush down in water until I can rinse it out. And I typically use baby wipes to wipe back and to clean up my messes. So I'm gonna dry this really fast. And then we're gonna go to the next part, which is cutting out our decoupage paper. So I'm just gonna give this a quick dry, set it aside, and let's do our bunny. Okay, I'm gonna put you down a little bit so you can see real well what I'm doing with the rabbit. I like to use water, and I've just gotten a fine tip paintbrush. You can use any brush, but it's easier if it's kind of like a paintbrush, I mean like a pencil. And I'm just gonna go around the outside of this rabbit. And I'm gonna hold on to his image, keep my finger next to the image, spray some water here. So I don't have to keep dipping over there. I'm gonna keep my finger next to the image so that you can see I'm not gonna rip. And he's fluffy, so I'm gonna give a little bit of an edge to him. I'm just gonna outline him a little bit because he's a fluffy bunny. But I don't wanna rip where his color is. Now, if you find that you're doing this and your paper is not ripping as easily as this, you might be using a paper that is black or a dark color. Darker colors tend to repel the water for a little bit as you're going along. So just make sure that if you have a dark color and it's not tearing as easily as I'm doing it right now, that you flip it over on the back side and try it from the back side where it's lighter color. Or you wait for it to saturate a little bit. Otherwise, it will tear. Okay. So already got a shadowy outline around his ear. Making sure I get that involved in there. You can see I'm just using it like it's a pencil. And I'm just outlining the whole bunny in order to cut it out and have it have a nice organic edge. We want that ruffly edge. If you have the thick line, then you're going to end up with a cut edge, a thick cut edge. You're going to end up with something that your eye is drawn to, whereas this is easily melded and camouflaged into paint, or even just gives it a softer look if you leave it as is. So I got lots of water. I'm going to keep my finger right there to make sure it doesn't tear my image. And I'm going to go I can go all the way around. You can go as detailed as you want, right up next to it if you want to. It'll just take you more time. Okay, that one got a little too close over here, so I'm going to hold it with my finger, and I'm going to use my Liquid Patina. If you don't have Liquid Patina, again, it's on my webpage for sale, but if you don't have it, you can use other decoupage mediums with this paper. Just make sure that they're water-based. You don't want to put Mod Podge on a piece of furniture either. I don't have anything against Mod Podge, but it typically will not hold up as well as a clear coat, top coat from like a chalk paint line. Okay, I'm just gonna put him right on this so that he's just hanging out. I don't think I'm gonna add anything else, so I'm gonna kind of center it a little bit. Now, I put it where I want him. Then I'm gonna grab my Liquid Patina, and I always put it in a separate container because I don't want it to be, hold on, I don't want it to be contaminated. This line is all natural. The whole paint line is very natural products, and so you don't want anything in there that can contaminate. I'm going to use just a nice flat brush that I have from Posh Chalk again, and I'm just dipping the ends, but I want it kind of gooey. I don't want it to be dry at all, and I'm going to try to keep my patina around where my bunny ear is. And then an easy way to do this is to take either a piece of cellophane wrap, or there are tools that you can use. These little, looks like mine got some paint on it. These little things have a soft velvet edge on them, or you can even use something as easy as a dry brush. And as long as you keep it dry, it shouldn't rip the paper. So depending on the size project or what you have available, any of those things will help you keep your paper from tearing as you're laying it down. Now, I'm gonna flip it up when I'm done, when I make sure that it has enough, and I can even flip it back to where I've already done, because this paper, unlike napkins, is nice and sturdy. You don't wanna mess with it too much, especially if you get the decoupage medium on the top of the image. If it's underneath, you can still move it around quite easily, but if it's on the top, it'll start really soaking that paper up into the paper, and that ends up weakening it. So as you can see, there are no wrinkles as I'm doing this. It's laying right down into that decoupage medium. And anywhere that doesn't have a medium, you have to put it underneath. You can't just lay it down on top. It has to be underneath. If you don't get enough underneath your project, that is when you're gonna have big bubbles. Not just wrinkles, but bubbles. And the only way to solve that is to get the liquid patina or the medium you're using back underneath your paper. And so some people use syringes, some people poke little holes in there. Otherwise, it's not gonna lay flat. But if you make sure you get a nice, thick, even coat as you're going along, you shouldn't have any problems. And I like to start away from the edge I've just done and bring it back up to that edge again. If I start down here, then I don't have a line of patina. See that? And then once it's down and you have enough to complete that image, that portion, once it's down, it's down. Then you can go back and lift again and go down the row. So making sure that your edges have enough, that you don't have a big air bubble that doesn't have anything. You can rub your hand over it a little bit lightly and feel if there's an air bubble. Make sure you're getting enough of the medium to completely coat it. Now I am going to coat the whole thing with this matte finish, so I am not worried about getting it on my paint, and you'll see that the color is changing where I have that top coat sealer. I'm going to be doing the whole image. But if you aren't doing the whole thing, you're going to have to be mindful of where you're putting your medium. There we go. So, and they just lay down beautifully. Now, once it's completely down, and every part of this is laid down without bubbles, all the edges, everything's laid down and it's completely flat. See, there's no bubbles, completely flat. Now is when you can go back in and put the liquid patina over the entire piece. And then it will do the freak out factor. Every paper that has wet on it will wrinkle. Some more than others. This is pretty thick paper, so it's pretty good at laying down, even though we're putting stuff over it. This is called the freak out factor when you're doing decoupage. If you see wrinkles at this point, it's just because your paper is wet. Mine actually isn't even wrinkling up too much. Don't freak out. Let it dry. Walk away. Leave it alone. Do not worry about it. It will dry, and then you will have those wrinkles go away. Okay, now that the image is dry, you'll be able to see that it's all one color. All the edges are down. It shouldn't look like there's any bubbles or wrinkles at all. And he just kind of melds in. See the outline? You can see where it's nice and organic, not a cut line around it. And he's just a nice little fun project. You can lay him outside on your porch or up in your above your cabinets, or decorate it with them for Easter. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments. And again, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and you're definitely able to get a hold of me. All my products are at rhapsodyartbarn.com.